So with our handsome Mr. A, he was already ready. We're going to work a little bit more with going to our place behavior. Oh, that's a very nice sit. And work a little bit with the beginning stages of some of that gorgeous stay. We'll see again, ready, Bed, how Mr. Handsome's feeling. Nice, great job. So I know we've touched base on, having a target, working on place behaviors, also building in duration while distractions. So again, the beauties are kind of hanging out with us, and we're going to see if we can have all the men out and about while practicing. So right now, Mr. A is doing a really nice job going and settling. His boyfriends, again, BFFs, are right around the bend. It's funny, this time we have all lovely men for the doggy day school. So when working with Mr. A, I know at times, that adolescence is challenging for everybody. But I would make sure that, keep, again, like we've mentioned in the past, training sessions short and sweet. See how things are progressing. I find sometimes keeping a little journal, and it could be like quick little bullet points that you're just making. See again where he's doing really well, where things are a little bit, hairy. He's not quite as comfortable, but he does have a bounce back. And then stay away from zones or environments or setups where no one's having a good time and no one's being successful. So right here, we might tell him to stay, and then I might go ahead and meander. If me adding movement, notice how he started to wiggle. I don't mind if he replants because he's worried he can't see what I'm up to. The main goal is that, again, he can readjust and get cozy, but I want him to just think that hanging out here is perfectly comfortable. So again, he's still working that down stay. We're just going to reinforce him intermittently for holding this gorgeous position. And we are working through some lovely distractions. So even though I did grab a few little chews for the beauties, Mr. Handsome off in the distance says he's very sad that he's not partaking right now. Mr. O says he would like to join the party. Mr. P is just meandering, and Mr. B is in his own little bubble as well. I know, they're so sad when they can't join the party. Nice. So again, throughout this practice, I just want him to think that there's, again, value in being stationary. So as he's doing really nicely, I don't want to make the stays so long that it becomes challenging for him. So what I mean by that is if, let's say, he kept breaking and getting up, or if he was sort of really distractible or really unsure about the situation, remember that we don't want to do like a place behavior when your dog is nervous or uncomfortable. So even though you might be trying to build up, okay, it's better not to go bombard the vacuum, and I'd rather have you do place, the reason some dogs start to go after the vacuum is, of course, because of fear, or they're a little bit scared, or sometimes trying to move that vacuum around. So right now, Mr. P is adding a few little woo-woos in the distance, but Mr. A is doing a really nice job holding his position, even through his friends, sometimes singing him sweet songs. So, but if there's a challenging situation where like something's adding anxiety or some frustration, I wouldn't pair that then with being stationary. So because then that can start to equal, when I put you in this place behavior, bad things happen around you and then you can't get out of it. So that can sometimes set them up for more hiccups for place, or going and settling on your spot or working a stay could equal the beginnings of here comes the oh no. So right here, he's just getting several little reps. I'm going to see if I can add a little bit of movement so I can sort of wiggle around a little bit. See if when I add some movement, if he can still feel comfortable holding his position. Remember to also try to move more naturally. And what I mean by that is we sometimes get very rigid when we're trying to almost tell the dog don't move, and we become a little bit awkward in our gait. So I'd make it where even though you're meandering around, it doesn't mean that, again, he should be, again, struggling. But if, let's say, you're always like a rigid little robot backing up and like only doing certain little steps, then your puppy might start to think that when you add more natural gaits or movement, that means maybe he's all done. So we're going to go ahead and keep feeding for all of these great little moments where he's stationary. I'm going to see if I can add a little bit of movement around the handsome guy. We had a funny noise, and that's all right. So if, like, let's say there's a distraction, you could always reset up your handsome guy ready down. He's like, would you like a foot? So if you really love to do the foot, he's too cute. Ready? Down. Oh my goodness, good job. So even if he offers behavior, but you weren't looking for it, I would just not acknowledge it and just see if you can help him figure out the better skill. So right now, he's just going to work a little bit with that stay, and then we're going to add a little bit of movement around the handsome guy. And again, I think the boys are going back to working some of their lovely chews that they have, which is really nice. So, but again, as the weeks progress, the gorgeous guys do get more and more cozy. I know this is not Mr. A's first little rodeo here. So for him, it's more getting acclimated to all his new friends and then being able to focus through those distractions, which again, all of these gorgeous guys are doing a real nice job. So now they've all gone back to chewing again because they're like, I guess the snack lady's not going to come visit us quite yet. So I'm going to see if I can add a little bit of movement for Mr. Handsome over here, where I might go and go near some of the display items and see if he can hold that position. Nice. Yes. So, but if you're not getting this type of, let's say setup at home, I know at home it's a little bit less of a vacuum where, you might have the chaos of home life. But I would recommend sometimes maybe throughout loading the dishwasher or throughout, I know poor Mr. P says, why not my turn? So, but throughout some of your usual adventures in the home front, see if you can get little moments where you might capture some of these great skills. So if he wants to readjust, ready down, he says, I would really love to rather give you some toesies. Nice, good job. So if he needs to readjust, that's no big deal. I wouldn't ever like scold him or go, as he goes to move. I would just reset him up and help him. So if, let's say, for example, he was really, having a harder time with something, maybe see if we can help set him up for a better success moment. Maybe the environment's too challenging, or maybe he's just not feeling it. Sometimes there's moments where we wake up and we're just not feeling the day, and that can sometimes happen for them too. So again, I'm just playing with some of the items, having them wiggle. Nice. And remember, we're just trying to help generalize these skills. So even though your friends could be squealing, saying, I can't wait to wrestle, or why aren't I getting all my snacks? These are great moments for him to realize that just because there's something else happening in the back burner doesn't mean he has to go and investigate it or become part of that setup. Nice. I know, I think Mr. P actually went and laid down. He's nice and relaxed. But then Mr. O says, I'm missing out. It's very sad. So again, I might just do a little bit of movement. So notice how if I try to do like a full circle for him, he has a little bit of a harder time. So I might lower him back into the down. Nice, good job. I'm gonna tell him again to stay, and maybe I'll do a little bit of movement just in front of him. So when applying some of these different distractions, or again, distances, or your duration changes, make sure that it's not all of them at once. So if, let's say, he had barely worked to stay, and now I'm adding tons of distance between him and myself, and now I'm adding tons of time between each little interval, and then there's also, like, let's say, the chaos of home, then that might be too many things. So for example, also distractions might be involved. Ready, down. He's like, I would love to give you some smooches. So if he's a little bit unsure, I might sort of lure him into the position. Now I'm going to again to tell him to stay for one more little moment, and then I'll feed him for holding this little down stay for a few seconds. He's drooling. He says, this is delicious. So again, he's going to be working that stay. Eventually, too, he'll realize that every time he goes to wiggle, it's not that he gets in trouble. We just reboot it, and then he gets fed for being in, again, that position. Nice. So got some nice noisy trucks going by or something. Again, I know not always does it pick up on our mic. Oh, that's very pretty. Nice. So let's say we wanted to end our gorgeous little stay with our handsome guy. We would go right to him. We'd say, all done. You could add some touches. I don't feed him for getting out of the stay position. So if at times you've been doing kind of like how I would rock my wait is again where they're holding back and you call them to you. And when they come to you, that's when you feed them. This would be he's being fed for being stationary, and that's the only time he gets the paycheck. So he starts to build up value in being stuck. So let's say this was all done. Nice job. We might say all done. We see if we can get him up and wiggling. He's like, oh, and of course now when he's finally comfortable, he's like, I don't know if I want to get up. If you have moments where Mr. Handsome does get a little stuck in his stay, you could again say all done and maybe get him up for a quick little find it. But typically I try to make it where most of the fun stuff happens while we're stationary. So think about, again, statue stay or stationary stay, or, again, stay for safety. So he's going to be there until you go and retrieve him from that stay spot. So we might go again, bed, and then see if we can get, again, a little moment with him. So if he does better with down stays versus sit stays, maybe start in down positions. So we might go again, ready, down. He's like, do I have to? Yes, nice job. Oh, he looks so cozy now. Nice. So I do also recommend like the little more comfortable sideways down, which can allow your dog to be more in a relaxed sort of moment. If they're kind of in like the Sphinx down where they're almost ready to pop back up, then they're not really feeling that cozy. So I would recommend to try to get this lovely sideways, hip on his side for the down position. Nice. So again, we'll tell him to stay, and I might add a little bit of movement once more, but he really is doing very nice with these lovely place behaviors. He and his buddies did get to wrestle a bit, which was nice, and we rotate through the different playmates depending on play style and sizing. But they all had some really nice social time this morning, which was great. Nice job. Gorgeous. So, and I know this doesn't seem like a big deal, to kind of work a few of these little tidbits, but if we don't work them with, prior to needing them, then of course that means that training in the moment means it's more than likely not attainable, or that your babe might start to think that it's a little bit more challenging or overwhelming situation. So remember, training should feel safe, comfortable, and fun, but from both ends. I know Mr. O says, gosh darn, when's it my turn? So very nice with Mr. A. We'll maybe give him a little breather from these lovely stay positions on his bed. And he's doing a very, very nice job. What a smart boy. Gorgeous. So again, we'll give him a little extra bonus bit right there. And we'll give him a little breather, but really nice job with those stays.